Hi, I'm Rolf Perez with Shooter's Paradise. I wanted to address a question. If I'm carrying a concealed firearm with a permit, is it okay if I get in a fight? Now, I'm sure already have an idea what the answer to that is, but I'd like to show you exactly what it is and why it is what it is. So everything I'm about to say is specific to the state of Louisiana. So keep that in mind. If you're somewhere other than Louisiana, there may be differences in what I'm saying. So the first thing is, well, I'm a good guy. I'm a good gal, right? I have a permit. I've been through a background check. Well, the first thing we need to understand is that the law doesn't see good guys and good gals. The law sees citizens. And quite frankly, what you might believe is a criminal, the law sees as a citizen. So the law will see two citizens in dispute. The law is not going to see a good guy and an evil criminal. That's not how the law works. So, the whole thing about Lady Justice being blind and all this, that's the idea. So the idea of good people and bad people don't exist in the courtroom. Just remove that idea from your head. The next thing is that your permit in Louisiana only gives you authority to carry the firearm, nothing else. It does not give you the authority to use the firearm. It doesn't give you any arrest powers. The permit allows you to do nothing other than simply carry the firearm concealed. And the reason for that is carrying a firearm concealed without a permit is a crime. So the permit is allowing you to kind of get away with a crime. Now, because of you meeting the requirements, it's no longer a crime for you if you have the permit with you. But if you don't have that permit with you, it's a really serious, sticky situation there. Okay, so just because you have a permit means nothing in this regard. Just because you view yourself as a good guy or a good gal, that means nothing. So another thing to look at is if you do end up using your firearm for self-defense, we're going to come back after the fact. Society is going to come back after the fact, and it's going to look at what you did and compare it to the laws, Louisiana Revised Statutes 14, 18 through 22. Those the self-defense laws. And those laws give you the ability to claim justification for your actions under self-defense if you meet certain requirements. And those are sticky little things, those requirements. So it's very important to understand what those laws are, what they cover, and know what they are. So that's another thing there about carrying the gun and using the gun, is that we review your actions after the fact, with the cold, hard 20/20 vision, looking back on things. That's tough because you were in a fight for your life. You didn't have time to think things through and to reflect carefully. All right, so the third thing we need to consider is what the self-defense claims, what they're based on, what they are. If you're unarmed and you're attacked as you're walking down the street and you did nothing to bring this on yourself, then you using force to defend yourself would be considered perfect self-defense. And it would obviously be justified in that scenario. Now, if you're, in Louisiana we use the term the original aggressor. If you're the original aggressor or the one who brought on the difficulty, then you're not going to be able to claim perfect self-defense. You're going to be able to claim imperfect self-defense. Because generally speaking, you cannot claim self-defense if you're the original aggressor. That's what the law says. So if you're the one who starts the fight, if you're the one who goes looking for trouble, brings on the difficulty, you can't claim self-defense. Oh, and that's literally what it is. You're barred from any claim of justification from self-defense. So if you're the one who started the fight, and here's the key thing, if you're the one who started the fight and brought on the difficulty, but you went to it with a good faith effort to use nothing other than the weapons that God endowed you with, which courts have held are not lethal force, then the other person who met you and said, yes, it's called mutual combat, let's put up our dukes and fight this out. And so the other person met you in agreement to engage in fisticuffs. And that was it. We're just fighting. That's it. We just want to see who's the big dog here. If that's the case, and during the fight you were getting the better of the other person and the other person pulled out a knife, then you can regain part of your ability to use self-defense to save your life. And in that case, if you were to kill the person, that would be considered imperfect self-defense, because you went to it with the intention of doing something which is wrong, to engage in a fight. We don't allow fighting. So that imperfect self-defense means what would normally have been murder gets knocked back to manslaughter. And quite frankly, I don't think that's a huge win, but if you're looking at murder and going to prison for murder, going to prison for manslaughter is a whole lot better deal. All right, so you have perfect self-defense, which is, I did nothing to bring this on myself. You have imperfect self-defense, which I did wrong, and I only by the skin of my teeth had any right to use force in self-defense. And then there's the aspect of I was forced into the killing. That's, he pulls out a knife, I'm going to die right then and there if I don't. So that's manslaughter, and in Louisiana, manslaughter can be a conviction of up to 40 years. So that's pretty darn serious. And we see, and this is the key thing about this now. So all that's background information. The key thing about this, there's a court case, an appellate decision, State versus Corneely. It was a Supreme Court decision from 1923. The citation for it is 96 South 813. So in the State versus Corneely, they specifically say that if you went to the conflict armed, that you could not regain innocence, which is if you go to a fight and you realize this is getting out of hand, you can put up your hands and back up and say, I'm done fighting, I don't want to fight anymore, and show everybody that you are done with this, and then you regain your mantle of innocence, so that then if he were to attack you again, it's treated as a separate incident, and you can become able to claim self-defense again. So that would be the ideal way this would go down. The other way you could regain an ability to use self-defense is if the other guy whips out a knife and tries to kill you when you both agreed to just simply fist fight. So in State versus Cornelia, this appellate decision, they said that if you go to the conflict armed, you cannot regain your innocence and your right to self-defense. So that if you do, use your weapon and end the other person's life in this situation, even if he escalated it by pulling out a knife on you. So in this situation, we both agree to duke it out. He has a knife, I have a gun. We're duking it out, I'm getting the better of him. He pulls out his knife and tries to kill me, and I have no choice but to live. I have to shoot him, bang. In that situation, based on this appellate decision, what they said was, it will be manslaughter at a minimum. It can't be less than a manslaughter. That's what the Supreme Court said. And I found this case reaffirmed as late as 1995. So the answer is obviously no, it's not okay to get in a fight if you're carrying a concealed handgun. You have to remember that what you're risking if you do that is prison for up to 40 years. And that's if everything were to go ideally in your defense. It's a very, very, very scary thing. There is only one way to handle conflict when you carry a concealed firearm, and that is to avoid it. You must avoid every conflict you can, because if you're seen to be engaging in a fight willingly with somebody else and that other person dies, and you went to that conflict with your concealed handgun on you, under this Supreme Court decision in the state of Louisiana, you're done. It's manslaughter, and manslaughter's up to 40 years. So, if you're going to carry a gun for self-defense, be the nicest person you can, the most polite person you can, and avoid conflict at every opportunity. Do everything you can to avoid having to use force against another person. I'm going to do a deeper dive into this. There's a couple of the court cases I want to look at and mention that'll be available on the Patreon page. I hope this has caught your attention and been useful to you. Feel free to check us out on Facebook and Patreon. There will be some additional good stuff there for you. Thanks a lot. Bye.